Hello there, Dr. Neptune here. Today I'm going to show you some of the oldest things in my collection that are not valuable at all, really. They're just old. And it's my collection of Van Halen LPs. These were all bought around the time they came out. And they've been with me ever since. Van Halen was my favorite band in high school and was the first rock concert I ever went to. So these LPs I like to keep around as sort of mementos of those times. I still listen to this music a lot. It still holds up over time. So this is Van Halen's first album. They released 6 albums, and I'm talking about the David Lee Roth edition of Van Halen here. 6 albums, one each for 6 years in a row, from 78 till 83 or 82, however that works out. But here's 1978's debut album, simply called Van Halen. Pictures of the band there. I prefer the David Lee Roth version of Van Halen. Several reasons. One is because that's the one that I came to know first. Second is that I've got nothing against Sammy Hagar, never did, but it's just a different band with him. And he has a whole different style of singing, and the band sounded much different after he arrived. So I'm a David Lee Roth fan, and what I liked about Van Halen right away was the fact that they would do songs, cover tunes, songs that I already knew. For example, number 3 here, You Really Got Me by the Kinks. I already knew that song. And when I heard Van Halen's version, I was really astounded at their way that they changed it and made it their own. So here's Van Halen's first LP, as I said. One thing about Van Halen albums I always thought was interesting, they never listed their songs in the same order as they actually appeared. This is true for all of their 6 releases. So they've got You Really Got Me and Jamie's Crying first, but those aren't the first 2 songs. I don't know why they did that, but I just thought I'd make note of it. And here, of course, is Diamond Dave on stage, and the other band members here. Then their follow-up, appropriately enough, was Van Halen 2. Each Van Halen album does have a distinct sound and character. They're not all the same, not even the first 2. They do differ from each other in some ways. And so here for their second effort, let me pull out the album. They also did some cover songs, including You're No Good, first song on side 1. It's a bold maneuver, I think. I knew the Linda Ronstadt version of it and loved it. And this is an entirely rearranged version that Van Halen does, slower and kind of slinkier. And I found that really interesting. These other songs are a lot of fun. I think this is probably their most pop-sounding album with Dave. These songs are rock songs, even hard rock songs, but they're very, very pop-oriented. Dance the Night Away. I had that as a single. I may have shown that in my early video on 7-inch singles, but I loved the way that song was both hard and it also had swing to it. It bounced in a way that I hadn't heard hard rock before. And you can say that of most of these songs. So there's a great instrumental here, kind of inappropriately named, but Spanish Fly. And Beautiful Girls, great song too. So Van Halen's second album came out the year after the first, and they all came out one year after another, which is a pretty punishing schedule for any band. And it couldn't have helped the tensions that had always existed in the band Dave was actually injured. That's a real bandage on his foot there, and he's got these nurses here tending to him, and I think that was the inspiration for somebody get me a doctor. So, Van Halen 2. Then their third album was really an opening up of their sound in a lot of ways. For one thing, the songs on Women and Children First were longer on average than the songs on the first two albums. I'd say the average length of the song in the first two albums was just over 3 minutes, between 3 and 4. Here, these are 4 and 5 minute songs. Also, this has "And the Cradle Will Rock" on it, and that song is, to my knowledge, the first song that used keyboards in Van Halen. A lot of people think that "Jump," the later single, was the first time they had keyboards on a sound, but in Women and Children First, on their first song, "And the Cradle Will Rock," that kind of crunchy sound you hear at the beginning and all the way through, that's an electric piano, a Wurlitzer, and it's been processed through some kind of effect. So that's followed up by the crazy jungle-sounding song of "Everybody Wants Some great rock all through here. "Take Your Whiskey Home," nice kind of R&B or bluesy acoustic song that turns into a super hard rock song at the end, kind of similar to some of Led Zeppelin from Physical Graffiti, I would say, and in a simple rhyme. Unlike most other songs of the David Lee Roth era, although it does look ahead to the Sammy Hagar era, does not, I believe, use keyboards, but it has a very pop-sounding song, something like Dreams or something like that from the Sammy era. All right, so there's Women and Children First. I had a poster of this back cover, same black and white picture on my wall at home. Pretty sure that Michael Anthony is smoking a joint there. Eddie's famous Frankenstein design of the guitar. And Dave and Alex there. Then next up was Fair Warning. Probably their hardest sounding album, I'd say, their hardest rock sound. All labels, I've said this a few times in my talks here, but all labels are really ultimately meaningless and don't tell you much of anything. So Van Halen, sometimes called a hard rock band, heavy metal. There are variations of that. I like what Dave said one time, is that Van Halen made Van Halen music. And that could probably be said of most artists, but particularly true with them. So Mean Streets was a particularly hard rockin' song to start off Fair Warning. And then Dirty Movies, a song, I think, about a prom queen who turns into a stripper. And the great writer Chuck Klosterman, I remember writing one time that most Van Halen songs were either about prom queens turning into strippers, or prom queens turning into prostitutes, or prom queens turning into porn stars. It's not entirely true, but Dirty Movies is the apotheosis of that thematic genre for Van Halen. And it has some straight-ahead fun songs, too. I've always loved Hear About It Later. That's a deep cut, but it's got an awesome sound to it, and the way that it builds is very cool. And then, of course, Unchained, and So This Is Love. Classics on this side. Push Comes to Shove, a reggae song, with Dave sounding in the mood. And then some cool these are two very short songs that bleed into each other at the end. A hard rockin' way to conclude here. There's Fair Warning, and I remember clearly just the fact that there's visible earrings on the band member. Back in Western New York in the early 80s, that was the kind of thing that could arouse some talk. but everyone got over it soon enough. And then here is The Great Diver Down. This album was actually kind of controversial both then and now in some circles. By some considered the worst of the David Lee Roth era, by some the best. There's a lot of conflict on this album. For one thing, about half of it is cover tunes. All right, so where's the track list? So another Kinks song, Where Have All the Good Times Gone There? Pretty Woman. Another song that I knew already from Roy Orbison when Van Halen's version came out, and I just, again, was blown away by their supersizing of it. I put a link to the video for Oh Pretty Woman in the description to this one. It's it's something. It's a great expression of the whole Van Halen vibe, I think. Just craziness all the way through. I don't want to spoil any of it, so take a look. And here's Dancing in the Street, another Motown song, or a Motown song that I knew. They even did this weird old jazz song called Big Bad Bill with Jan Van Halen, the Van Halen brothers' father, who played clarinet, I think. And then even a cappella version of Happy Trails at the end of this. And then sprinkled in between all that is The Full Bug, a great hard rock tune, little guitars intro, and the song itself. Amazing guitar work, as always, from Eddie Van Halen. And then Hang 'em High, Cathedral, an intro to the song Secrets, a ballad with great lyrics that Diamond Dave said that he wrote while trying to sound like he was writing a Hallmark card. So, really fun album. That's, I think, the thing I like the most of it. It rocks and is fun at the same time. It has these great covers, these interpretations of other tunes, songs from other genres. And for me, it all worked really well. So on this tour, the Diver Down tour, that was the concert that I went to. And inside here, I've got the program from that concert, as well as the ticket stub. So I saw this in Syracuse at the Carrier Dome, which is their football stadium, Saturday, October 9th. That would be 1982, when I was 15. And my parents drove me to Syracuse from Buffalo, the Buffalo area where I grew up, and me and my friend Tom stayed in my grandparents' house in Syracuse, and then from there went to this concert. It was mind-blowing. For a Van Halen arena concert to be your first rock concert is something else. And the only concert I'd been to before that was Kenny Rogers. It was a few years before that. My father took me to see him at the Memorial Auditorium in Buffalo. So that was a big show, and it was Kenny Rogers, who I liked. That was his Gambler era. But this was the first rock show that I went to, and we went alone. To my parents' credit, I guess they knew we were good boys and weren't going to get in any trouble, so they dropped us off and picked us up, and we went to see Van Halen. It was Dave's birthday that night, and they brought out a cake for him and everything. Here's the fold-out poster from that concert. Can't even see all of it in frame, but it says Memorial Day 83 because this tour ended then. So I saw it in October 82. They went on, and in their last show, I believe, was the US Festival, famous legendary concert that was televised. And there's some audio and video available of that. Van Halen Live was never that great, honestly. You had to be there. It was that sort of thing. By not great, I mean you just can't get a sense of what it was like by listening to the recordings. I think that's why there's no David Lee Roth era live Van Halen recordings. officially released. There is at least one, maybe more, of the Sammy Hagar era. Dave was more about the show than hitting all the right notes. And he also said, I love to quote Dave, he said that if people were going to criticize him for not hitting all the right notes, so what? The ones he hit were the ones that worked, or something along those lines. All right, so that was Diver Down. And then their sixth and final album with Dave was this one, 1984, but actually released in 1983. So still futuristic by a year at that time, but the band was pretty much over by this time, I believe. As I mentioned earlier, it did have the song Jump on it, which was, I think, their biggest hit with Dave. I'll show you these other things in a minute. They're all falling out. So yeah, it had Jump on it, and then also I'll Wait, I think, was the other song on this album with synthesizers. Okay, here they are. 1984, the song is an instrumental synthesizer. Jump Panama, Drop Dead Legs, I always loved that song. At the time, ZZ Top had a song called Legs also. And to me, these two songs were related. Both good hard rock songs about legs. Hot for Teacher, crazy video also. There's no song like it, I think. Girl Gone Bad and House of Pain to round it out. So for this, this was the second time I saw Van Halen with David Lee Roth. And the ticket, yes. Here's the ticket. March 22nd, 1984, Buffalo Memorial Auditorium. I went with Tom, same friend from the Diver Down concert, and Phil. So the three of us, high school pals. Harvey, Corky, and Tice present Van Halen. That is Harvey Weinstein, later famous for Miramax films, and then after that infamous for sex crimes for which he is currently imprisoned. But Harvey Weinstein and his brother, I don't know if Corky's his brother's nickname or what, but there's another Weinstein. The two of them started out promoting concerts in the Buffalo area in the 70s, and then moved on to other things. So there's that ticket. And in the lead up to this concert, I was very excited. So were my friends. And what I've also found in my archives here are some drawings, some artwork that reflects that. Here, this is signed by Tom. Tom, if you're watching, I hope you'll permit this use of your copyrighted artwork. But this is the kind of thing we would do in class as we were gearing up to go to the concert. And this is actually, I think, a really good picture that he's titled Edward Van Halen. In between the notes on the Second World War, or the First World War. Anyway, I think that really nicely captures Eddie's stage presence. And then here's another one, an even more elaborate one. This is on okay, these are social studies assignments for the week. You marked Van Halen week. I wish I still had this, but for myself, the way that I marked the days leading up to the concert, in my bedroom at home, I took paper maps from AAA, and I would follow the route of the band by buying, it was either Hit Parader or Circus Magazine. It would have hard rock bands' tour schedules, and it would say where they were, which city on which day, and I would draw a line from city to city and put a date on it in anticipation of their arrival in Buffalo. So needless to say, I guess what I'm saying is we were very excited about all this. And beneath these very serious questions about, about World War One, again, this is Tom's artwork. Very nicely done. Dave is singing Jump, bare-chested. Might be holding a beer. And there's Eddie and Alex singing Jump. And then here's Joe, guitar player. Sure what's going on there. VH and special guest, but nice work on the amps also. I really think that's good stuff. My contribution to this art project is this. It's a narrative. I'm not sure if I drew this. I guess I must have drawn this after. This is a recap. So here is me and Phil and Tom off to see the wizard on the way. We stayed at the Hyatt Hotel. Very nicely provided for us by Phil's parents. Very generous of them to let us hang out there. We had a riot there. Van Halen was there too. But of course we never got close to them. Here we are checking in. That's me. Yeah, planning a jump from the balcony. Here's the Buchanans. They were not drugged at any time during any of this. I want to make that clear. Tom taking a dump. Phil is turning cartwheels. I'm bouncing off the wall. There's Phil. Phil had a legendary boombox that we loved to listen to. Here we're at the Odd, and so we were kind of country boys going to the big city, and we were a little bit hesitant about the environment there. So this, I think, reflects that tension. Thought we'd be searched. Here's Phil. It's an actual quote. He said this. So I memorialized it. He also had this very cool Van Halen necklace that he got. We all sent away for posters and things to an address that I think was in the album. So he had that. And then here, okay, opening act. Yeah, We Suck, they're singing. Tom, again, going to take a dump. And then me and Phil going to buy jerseys. Here, I did my best, I think, at emulating Tom's artwork that I just showed you. Dave doing a split in the air, Eddie playing guitar. Jump, here we are. Another, yes, gang of hoods trying to steal our jerseys, so we run back to the Hyatt and then back at the hotel, scene number 3. I don't have Phil's artwork from this. I don't know what happened to it. I'm sure he participated in this project, but it's been lost to time. But I also have in the archives here, this is the review that appeared in the local newspaper. Nothing but good things here. I think my favorite line, though, is in paragraph 3 starts by describing Dave's persona on stage, interspersed amongst a barrage of jokes, anecdotes, and sexual innuendos from Flamboyant. I can't even read it without laughing. Okay, and that's a great picture. That was them on stage back there in March 1984. And here is the program from that. Some stills from the Jump video, looks like. And this. Right. Here we go. Now, the original lineup did release an album a few years ago, but it is unremarkable, and I think it's safe to say that no fan really pays much attention to that. I probably listened to it twice. Nothing can bring back that energy that they had in those years. Not their fault really, but it's just how it is. So I don't have that. I used to have the CD. I don't know where it is now though. But like I said, I really essentially never listened to it, and is really just a footnote to the history of Van Halen. And then of course the band carried on with Sammy Hagar for many years, and then David Lee Roth had his solo career. I guess still does have. This was his very first solo release though, Crazy from the Heat. So this was the first that anyone heard of Dave after the 1984 album. Date of this is 1985. And this is his cover of the Beach Boys song, California Girls, and the Louis Prima song, Just a Gigolo. It wasn't until decades after this album came out that I knew who Louis Prima was and could really appreciate him as a performer, and how Dave obviously took a lot of inspiration from him. If you have never seen Louis Prima, look him up. He is spectacular. And the song Just a Gigolo is a great song, very funny and fun. There's Dave. Okay, so this was just a 4-song EP, and then Dave's first full-length album released was called Eat 'Em and Smile, and release date 1986. A lot of Dave's solo work, has been really good, right up through the late 90s. This is the only item that I have, though, of his. And this was the third time that I saw Dave in concert. The first two with Van Halen, and then on this tour, saw him here, September 20th, 1986. Same place as the last Van Halen ticket I showed you. That's where the Buffalo Sabres played hockey. All right, so his band for this first album and for that concert also included the drummer, Bissonette, Billy Sheehan, Steve Vai. I think it was Steve Vai or was it Billy Sheehan? Gosh. One of these guys was from Buffalo. And that was a big deal that he kind of came back as a member of Dave's band. I just wish I could remember. Hey, that's a very cool label. I haven't looked at this in years. So anyway, it was a good show. David Lee Roth, great performer. Here, I found this in the album too. Here's the set list. I used to do this a lot. I would write down as soon as I got home or soon thereafter the songs that the artist had performed. So you can see there, I think he did the entire solo album, and then of course a lot of Van Halen classics in here too. So that was a fun night, and oh, that's it. That's it for my Van Halen collection. I'll leave us on the bold visual here. All right, so hope you enjoyed that. If you're watching this, maybe you had many of the same memories. Okay, time to cut. Many of the same memories as me, anyways. Yes, again, thanks for checking in, and I will be back soon.